Hello, everyone. Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Hello, everyone. Today is a day. It's a day. It's a day where everyone can get some information. Everyone can get some knowledge. Everyone can get better in what they're doing. Like you see on my screen, today I'm going to talk about something is very important for everyone who doing taxes. I'm going tonight to talk about the tax reform and due diligence requirements. We're going to talk about. I'm going to stay at least 1 hour with you. I can go over everything. That way, you will understand better what's going on. Will understand better what's going on. That that's what I am here for. By the way, we are on YouTube at the same time. If you go on YouTube or at 3FC Multi Services LLC, you'll be able to be with us also. Let's get at it. Tonight, I'm going to talk about the tax reform due diligence requirements. It's mostly for tax professional preparer, but everyone who would like to become a tax preparer, I will say welcome to everyone. Welcome to everybody. If you have any questions, if you have anything you want to say, drop it on the box. At the beginning, I say that. And if you can tell us where you screening with us, that would be very interesting to know where you at, where you are screening with us. By the way, my name is Francois Demazier. I am a tax professional preparer, and tonight I'm going to talk to you about tax reform due diligence requirement. I'm going to talk mostly about the new laws about it. Uh, what IRS says about it. Let's see. If you want to contact me, that is my contact right here. If you want to contact me, you can come back anytime in that live and you get my contact right there. And I put it right here also for you guys. All right. Tax reform due diligence requirements. At the end of this live, I'm going to start like that. I'm going to let you know what I expect accomplish at the end of my life. At the end of this life, you will be able to understand the effects of the Tax Cut and Jobs Act on clients' refund credit. You will be able to determine your client's eligibility for child tax credit, CTC, additional child tax credit, or the new credit for other dependents, known as ODC. Understand due diligence requirements relate to CTC, ACTC, ODO, and head of household filling status. At the end of this life, I want you to be able to understand and avoid all common errors, common mistakes a lot of tax preparers made, and complying with due diligence requirements. Understand penalties for not meeting due diligence requirement. Understand the new form 8867. Hopefully you can be with me all the way to the end because we got a lot to go through, and I expect to help you out and help you understand everything. And for everybody who would like to share to everyone they know that can help, please do share to everyone, like, subscribe in my channel on YouTube, and you can subscribe in my page also. That way, each time I'm coming live, you'll be the first who have a notification. Importance of change of TCJR. Zero amount for personal and dependent exemptions. Indeed, of Tax Cut and Job Act, the Form 1040 has been redesigned, and it will be simpler for a lot of taxpayers. The paid preparer may also find that it's simpler now that there's only one Form 1040 now, and there's no Form 1040A, no Form 1040EZ like we used to. Welcome, Gwyneth. Welcome, Gwyneth. Welcome, everybody. And I am glad you are here with me, and follow, share with other people, and like. All those new requirements, what they are. The social security number requirements are, and the relationship tax preparer have to consolidate, understand, and meeting your due diligence requirements with confidence. It's now very important. But the standard deduction has also doubled from what it was in 2018. So for some taxpayer, the increased standard deduction will offset the fact that the exemption are reduced to zero. One of the big changes with the child tax credit and the additional child tax credit is that the qualifying child means gonna need to have a social security. Before, it wasn't really matters. It got a social security. It could be in I-10, but now a qualifying child need to have a social security number by the due date of the return, including extension. Without the social security now, you cannot claim a child tax credit. Increasing face amount limit. Under the new law, in order to qualify for both the non-refundable CTC child tax credit and the refundable ACTC, that is the adoptive child tax credit, the qualifying child now must have a valid social security number issued before the due date of the tax return, and that includes extension. This is a big change on the tax system. The child tax credit is worth up to $2,000 per qualifying child, and the age requirement did remain the same. The child must be under 17 at the end of the year in order to claim the credit. Now, the refundable portion of the credit has also gone up, and that has gone up to 1,400 per qualified child. Hopefully you can stay with me, guys, and that is very technical. You will see I will be mostly trying to get everything out, because if not, I will take 2 3 hours to be able to go over everything with you. But you can come back on the live anytime to make sure you get everything good, because that is the only way you can be you cannot forget those things when you're doing tax. That would be not good for you with IRS. Any children or any child that might be residing in Mexico or Canada who were not US citizen won't qualify for this credit. But it wasn't that way before. That is all the changes you get on the law now. Will not qualify. The CTC, the child tax credit, first appeared on the scene in 1998 as a small non-refundable credit of 400 for each qualifying child under 17. And as we all know, over the last 20 years, that credit has gradually changed. And for the past filling seasons, the child tax credit was worth up to 1,000 per qualifying child and was refundable for taxpayer with earned income of at least 3,000, and also it phased out for taxpayer with an AGI above 75,000 for single taxpayer or 110,000 for joint filer, married joint filer. So if you are looking at that chart, on the top right corner, you will see what is new. As you can see in this chart, the phase out in claiming one qualifying child for the child tax credit has increased to 200,000 for a single filer and 400 for joint filer. The phase out are greater if multiply children are claimed for CTC, or if the ODC, but I already explained what is it. CTC is child tax credit, and ODC it's a dependent. They put it here ODC for dependent because they don't want to put kind of the same CDC again, because that would be an confusion with other stake they already have. That's why they put ODC for other dependent credit. It's also claimed now because of rounding holes. A 2,000 CDC or a CDC is reduced to zero, and the income is above the 39,001 for a single feeder, or for 39,001 for someone who is married feeling joint. That obviously represent a huge change to the number of taxpayers that may be qualified to take the credit. The child must have lived with the client, because we got it's not because you got a child you just say, okay, I'm gonna have that credit. To have that credit, you got a way to get qualified. First, the child must have lived with the client for more than half of the tax year. Remember, you tax preparer, when you're doing the interview, or your taxpayer, you will need all those information that will help you along the way. Keep follow this live, and at the end you will be why I said it's very important for tax preparer. But don't forget to explore some possible exception during your interview that might apply if that child happen to be away at school. Now, we do also want to make sure that you understand if a child was born and died during the year, you do not need a social security number. Hopefully everybody's clear about that. If a child was born and died on the same year, you do not need a social security number. That's the only reason you don't need the security number to claim the CTC. But if that is not the case, they do need the social security number. In fact, the child must have a valid or employment social security number. Now, interestingly enough, the taxpayer, whether it is primary or spouse, may have an I-10, so the taxpayer can have an I-10, but the child must have a social security number that is valid for employment. So, what does a valid for employment social security card look like? That is the question most of you are trying to ask now. What is a valid social security card for employment look like? Basically, it's either going to be a basic social security card that has no additional markings, or the card is going to state valid for work with DHS authorization. Valid for work with DHS authorization. Because under the new law, a child with an I-10 will not qualify the taxpayer for child tax credit. Additional child tax credit even if the parent has a valid social security number. The child have to get a valid social security number. The credit is for dependent. That's not. But I remember somebody asked me that question. He said, okay, if he's not my child but he's independent, do I really need social security for them? Okay. Hopefully, at the end of that live, you will get your answer. But I'm gonna try to answer your question right now. The credit is for the dependent that don't meet the definition of qualifying child for the child tax credit. That's exactly what the dependent is. If it's not a child that can qualify the taxpayer for child tax credit. So, if a dependent does not qualify the taxpayer for the child tax credit or the additional child tax credit, that dependent might qualify the taxpayer for the credit for other dependent. And here are some example of dependent that might allow the taxpayer to take this credit. Please, my friend, share the live other people can have the same information you get now. If you think that is valuable, please share the live for other people and like. It could be the taxpayer or the qualifying children, those who are age 17 or older at the end of the year. It could be other qualifying relatives who are 17 and older. This could be someone such as an aunt or uncle. The dependent might be a parent, like your mom or your dad living with you, and you are responsible for everything. And this credit also applies to qualifying children with an I-10 or an A-10. An A-10 is an adoption taxpayer ID number. I did want to mention, I saw a question in there about an I-10. An I-10 always starts with the number 9, and you can find more information about I-10 on irs.gov. I encourage you to go in irs.gov. You can get more information. You can go a little bit more deeper on those. I'm trying to give you what you really need to get started, but it's up to you to go deeper. Unlike the child tax credit, either the primary taxpayer or the spouse can have an I-10, so Social Security is not a requirement for the credit for other dependents. However, they do need to have an I-10 or A-10 before or during the year. And whether it is the A-10 or the I-10, they need to be issued by the due date of the return, including extension. Now, the ODC can only be claimed for dependents who are U.S. citizens or U.S. residents. So that means the dependent residing in Mexico or Canada can't be claimed for the ODC if they are not U.S. citizens. And that pose is similar to the rules for child tax credit, additional tax credit. If the taxpayer can't qualify for the child tax credit, that is what I want you to take away. And everything I did from beginning to now, I will try to do a resume for you guys. That will be what you have to take away from everything I already said to you. If the taxpayer can't qualify for the child tax credit or additional child tax credit, they may qualify for the credit for other dependents. The taxpayer will be able to claim as other dependents if the taxpayer has a Social Security number and the dependent has a Social Security number. The taxpayer has an I-10 and the dependent has an I-10. The taxpayer has an I-10 and the dependent has a Social Security number. The taxpayer has a Social Security number as the dependent has an I-10. And that way, the taxpayer can claim for other dependent tax credit. Hopefully that resume a little bit everything I just said. Now let's keep going. how, as a tax preparer professional, you'll be able to qualify a person, a taxpayer, as an head of household. Head of household. That is very important because you will see later how that could come back to you as a tax preparer. To qualify a taxpayer as a head of household, you have to look at those three things: the marital status, the qualifying person, and the cost of keeping up a home. Someone who is married can never, I said never, be qualified as a head of household, because the head of household have to be someone is not married, is an unmarried person. That person cannot be, I say, that person cannot be a married person. The qualifying person, use the IRS has a form 8867. You can use that plus common sense to help you out when you do your interview. When you do your interview, please, guys, drop on the chat box if you got a question, if you have a comment. If you can drop on the chat box also where you scrolling with us, that will be very fantastic. Form 8867. Let's say you are completing your return and the tax preparer appears to be qualified to claim head of household. You will need to complete the head of household column and form 8867. That form you can find it in irs.gov. Paid preparers due diligence checklist, and you will need also to answer the related questions. And what you are doing there is you are confirming that you are practiced due diligence and determining your client's ability to claim the head of household filing status. We have two tools you can use. The first one is, this will help you with determining if your client is eligible to claim head of household. It is form 13614-C. 13614-C. This form is available on irs.gov. That form can help you to get started. But on top of that, you still need common sense. You still need to have your paper to do those questions and write all those answers. You need to know the applicable tax law for all the credit, including the new credit for all the dependents, as well as head of household filing status. And second, you need to compute the credit and keep the required records. You need to include the worksheets and the record of questions that you ask and the answers that you receive. And then the final thing is to complete and submit the form 8867 paid preparers due diligence checklist. Very, very, very important. You will see why later on, because got a lot of stuff. You will see why I always said It's very important to pay attention to those stuff because that can cost you a lot of money. And even though your tax software has questions that you can ask your clients, most tax softwares is generic, so you cannot rely on it to ask every questions because every single client you have will be different and their situation will be different. Because of that, you have to use your common sense to ask questions to qualify that taxpayer as head of household or not. And you need also to document to also document those questions you ask and the answer you get as well. You really want to try to develop your own interview process and then apply it. You have a plan, you create your interview, and you apply it. And if you have employee, make sure you train your employee in the due diligence process that you want them to use and that you have established for your business. When I say that, I got somebody ask me a question, but if I got employee, that is not me, that is my employee P10, that's not their problem. Later on, I will go over a little bit deeper, but for now, I will tell you, when you got an employee, it's your business also. That means if something happen, they're not gonna go only under that employee, they will go under you also. That means they will go behind you and behind the employee. That means you have to pay attention for every single thing an employee you got have to do in your business. It's your business. Remember that. But later on, I will go a little bit deeper. Now, what I want you to take away from everything I just said to you, and the second part, it's a preparer cannot rely on the question provided on the software as the sole source of interview questions, because each client is unique and additional questions may be needed. I said a preparer, a tax professional preparer, should never rely only on the questions provided on the software because that is mostly generic. And because every single client you will have will be different, you will need additional questions. Hopefully, that resume everything I just said about how to qualify a taxpayer as a head of household. Let's keep going. Now we go into the penalties. Exactly what I was saying before. If you qualify someone as a head of household, but you fail to identify properly, that person, that exactly what can happen to you. Qualify someone properly means pay attention to every single information that person will give you, and that way you can make follow-up questions to go deeper to understand what exact the situation the taxpayer is. Because sometimes some taxpayer, when they come to you, they try to lie to you because they want you to do something different. Because they want you to do something different for them, to lie for them, they lie to you. The only way you can avoid all those penalties from IRS, it's you have a plan, prepare your interview, very good, and use your common sense. One question someone asked me before this live, I'm going to answer that question right now. Someone asked me about, did IRS have a total of amount you can go as penalties? Did IRS, like I said, did how much penalties a tax preparer can pay? I will tell you right now, you don't have any amount for a tax preparer to pay in penalties. As you do those stuff like that, each case you present to IRS, if you have anything and they have you to pay penalties, if you got 25 cases, you will pay the same amount for 25 cases. That is an example I just put on the bottom. If you have 20 clients and you make mistake on those 20 EITC, you will pay $520 multiplied by 20. That's mean, you see, you make 20 mistakes and 20 tax return for EITC, but you will multiply the 520 by 20. If you have you make 10 mistakes in CTC and 10 mistakes in OITC, you're gonna to multiply the 520 by 40. As you make mistakes and as you can pay penalties. But the good thing is, before you go there and the penalties, IRS always send you some reminders, send you some notification, always send you some flag. You get some flag to help you fix your mistakes. And some softwares also help you out in some mistakes. They help you fix them, by the way. But it's a software. That means the software can make also mistakes because it's made by someone, and everyone can make mistakes. That means you have to always pay attention and use your common sense and go further and go deeper for every single tax return you will have to make. The takeaway for everything about those money, those penalties IRS can have you to do, that will be as a paid. I'm trying to put all those together. That would be as a paid preparer, that's a professional tax preparer, and you fail to comply with the due diligence requirement for EITC, CTC, HCTC, including ODC, AOTC, and HOC, the IRS can assess a $520 penalty against you for each violation, regardless the number of time. Regardless the number of time, they will find you that they will find that against you for each violation you made. Please pay attention for what you do. Do it again before you send it on. Make sure you always go over everything once, a second time, a third time if you don't feel comfortable to send it in. Hopefully that is help you out, all the taxpayer and out there. I am very glad I can put something together to help you be in compliance with IRS when it is about due diligence requirements. That is everything what you need to remember from everything I said on this live. what you remember. I got 4 things I put there you have to remember, and that will give you a resume for the whole life. But by the way, before I go on that last slide with you, I would like to thank everybody. Thank you for being there with me. Thank you for sharing the live with other people. Thank you for everybody else is going to watch that this live later or tomorrow, or you're going to share that also with some friends. And my name is Francois Demazier. I'm a tax preparer professional. And if you have any questions, if you have anything else you would like me to go over for you, don't hesitate to put it under that live, that video I'm going to share, and live on Facebook, and I'm going to share that also in YouTube. And it might be on TikTok and Instagram also. Please share to other people, and everybody can have the same information you get. Those 4 big things that resume the whole life. Income phase out for child tax credit have significantly increased. Eligible child for the CTC must have a social security number valid for employment. Remember to consider the new credit for other dependents, and due diligence now applies for head of household returns. That means put those in your head, and thank you so much for being here with me. You got my contact right there. Don't hesitate to contact me if you need anything. And and with this, I will say thank you, thank you, thank you, and I will see you in the next time for another live. Don't forget, you can send me your questions anytime. Thank you so much, and have a good night. Bye.